The movie begins with Ben, a panicked man, falling through a ceiling grate into an old-fashioned study. Inside, he discovers a door with a puzzle on the wall, requiring him to slide 4 numbers into position to open it. However, when Ben moves one of the numbers, the opposite wall starts closing in on him, crushing everything in its path. Desperately searching for clues, Ben tries to solve the puzzle, but the wall keeps moving. As he becomes trapped between the 2 walls, he injures his leg with a sharp stick. The film then jumps back 3 days earlier to Chicago, Illinois, before Ben's unfortunate demise is revealed. In a college lecture hall, Zoe is too shy to speak up when she knows the answer to a question posed by her professor. After class, her professor advises her to overcome her fears and do something challenging during Thanksgiving break. Back in her dorm room, Zoe refuses to join a dorm party and receives a package from her professor the next morning. Inside is a note challenging her and a black puzzle box. Jason, a successful stock trader, receives an enticing offer of a vacation to Fiji from a satisfied client. Accompanying the offer is a note and a black puzzle box identical to the one Zoe received. Meanwhile, Ben, who works as a stock boy at a grocery store, is denied a promotion due to his boss' concerns about his drinking habits. Devastated, Ben's boss later apologizes, and the next day, Ben finds a note and a black puzzle box on his workstation. Each of them manages to open their puzzle boxes using different methods. Zoe solves it on her own. Jason watches a YouTube tutorial, and Ben accidentally discovers the solution while attempting to break the box with a hammer. Inside the boxes, they find a card inviting them to Mino's escape room, where the winner will receive a $10,000 prize for being the first to escape. As Ben stands outside the Mino's building smoking, Amanda arrives. After entering the lobby, Amanda checks in with the guard, who requires her to surrender her cell phone to prevent any photos of the room from being shared online. Amanda heads to the elevator where she meets Danny. Inside the waiting room, they join Jason, Zoe, and Mike, who are already waiting. Danny reveals his extensive experience of over 90 escape rooms. Impatient with the wait, Ben decides to go outside for a smoke. However, when he tries to open the door, the handle breaks off in his hand, alerting Danny that the game has begun. They discover that the broken handle is actually an oven dial, and the group starts searching for clues. Amanda notices that the magazines in the room were sent to a Dr. Wooten Yu. Mike finds a screwdriver hidden inside a copy of Fahrenheit 451 on the bookshelf. Zoe adjusts the oven dial to 451 degrees, triggering heating panels that start warming the room. Feeling anxious, Amanda asks for a clue from the person behind a frosted glass window. Zoe realizes that the voice they hear is just a recording. Jason picks up a snow globe with a sailboat inside but looks disturbed before placing it back. Ben takes a fire extinguisher off the wall, which activates more heating panels. While the fire extinguisher is a prop, Zoe removes the pin and finds a key to open the frosted glass window. Inside, they discover a mannequin holding a phone that starts ringing when Jason answers. The voice on the other end instructs them to follow the rules. As the room grows hotter, Amanda panics, but Zoe calms her down. Zoe's attention is caught by a sign affixed to the wall, reminding guests to use coasters. Curiosity piqued, she decides to press down on one of the coasters resting on the coffee table. To her surprise, this action triggers a hidden mechanism, causing a painting on the wall to shift and unveil an air duct. Realizing the significance of the discovery, Zoe deduces that all 6 coasters must be pressed down simultaneously to prevent the painting from obstructing the air duct. With determination, Zoe enlists the help of her friends, Danny, Ben, Amanda, and Mike. Each of them takes their place, diligently pressing down on the coasters, while Jason fearlessly ventures into the air duct. Soon, Jason stumbles upon a grate leading to another room, but he requires a screwdriver to open it. Mike, offering assistance, joins Jason in the air duct to provide the necessary tool. Meanwhile, Zoe instructs Amanda to follow suit, ensuring that the coasters remain held down by filling the water glasses to their brims using the water cooler. The weight of the full glasses proves sufficient to keep the coasters in place. However, Amanda's journey through the duct triggers a panic attack, causing her to flash back to a distressing memory of crawling out of a military Humvee after an IED blast in the desert. Sensing Amanda's distress, Ben and Danny insist that Zoe accompanies her to provide support, while they take charge of filling the remaining glasses. Zoe manages to calm Amanda's nerves, and together they resume their progression through the air duct. Meanwhile, Ben and Danny can only manage to fill 5 glasses as the water cooler runs dry, owing to Amanda having consumed 1 glass earlier. Determined to find a solution, Ben improvises by utilizing his flask to fill the 6th glass. With their mission to hold down the coasters accomplished, Danny and Ben crawl through the air duct just as the room ignites in flames, narrowly escaping the fiery onslaught. The group now finds themselves inside a log cabin. Everyone, except for Danny, is convinced that they are engaged in a real-life game, engrossed in the unfolding adventure. Danny, on the other hand, complains about being stuck with a group of unexciting individuals. Jason employs the key he obtained from opening the frosted window in the waiting room to unlock the front door. However, to their dismay, another lock requiring a 7-letter combination obstructs their path. Amidst their search for a solution, Mike stumbles upon a quote adorning the wall, which reads, "You'll go down in history." Zoe begins naming U.S. presidents with 7-letter last names in an attempt to unlock the door, but none of the names prove successful. It is then that Ben notices 9 antlers mounted on the wall, each accompanied by a letter. The sight triggers a recollection of a past night when Ben and his friends, intoxicated and boisterously singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, were involved in a head-on collision. The letters beneath the antlers correspond to the initial letters of Santa's reindeer names. Eager to test their theory, Ben suggests trying Rudolph, and to their delight, the lock yields, granting them access. As the group steps out of the cabin, the door locks behind them, and they find themselves in a wintry clearing, surrounded by frozen water resembling solid ground. A thermometer in the vicinity indicates a temperature of 30 degrees, but Zoe discerns that the temperature is gradually dropping. Unbeknownst to them, Danny wanders away from the cabin only to encounter an invisible barrier, realizing that the walls surrounding them are high-tech screens designed to simulate an outdoor environment. Determined to proceed, they scour the surroundings for clues. Jason discovers a locked door embedded within the wall, while Amanda stumbles upon a boat containing a red jacket. Inscribed on the boat, Zoe spots a carving that reads, "True North is a lie." The sight of the red jacket unsettles Jason, prompting Amanda to suggest taking turns wearing it, starting with Zoe. In the meantime, Mike uncovers a fishing pole lodged in a tree, while Ben accidentally stumbles upon a fishing hole in the ice. While the rest of the group investigates the depth of the fishing hole by lowering the line, Zoe, equipped with a compass, embarks on an exploratory walk. To her surprise, the compass starts malfunctioning near a taxidermied polar bear. Acting on instinct, Zoe reaches into the bear's mouth and discovers a hidden magnet. Rejoining the group, she hands the magnet to Jason, who insists on wearing the red jacket for his turn. As the exploration continues, Ben momentarily separates from the group to smoke, while Mike attaches the magnet to the fishing line and drops it into the hole once more. To their astonishment, the line reveals a metal frame encasing a frozen block of ice, firmly securing a key at its core. Realizing the ice is impervious to breaking, Danny requests Ben's lighter to melt it. Ben tosses the lighter to Danny, who approaches to retrieve it. Tragically, the ice beneath Danny gives way, plunging him into the icy water. Filled with desperation, the remaining 5 members frantically search for Danny through the cracked ice. Amanda, overcome with concern, expresses a desire to dive in after him, but Mike dissuades her, recognizing the danger posed by the strong current. Tragically, Danny succumbs to the icy depths. Acknowledging the imminent threat of hypothermia, Jason emphasizes the necessity of their collective efforts to melt the ice, given the plummeting room temperature. Reflecting on a past experience of sitting on the hull of an overturned boat in frigid waters, alongside another individual donning the same red jacket, Jason recalls the life-saving strategy they employed, taking turns wearing the jacket and collectively applying their body heat to the ice. Determined to survive, the group places their hands on the frozen block, gradually melting it as the room's temperature drops below zero. Jason proceeds to insert the key into the door, only to discover it remains locked. Undeterred, they notice another door open on the opposite side of the room, prompting them to dash towards it. The cracking ice beneath their feet adds to the suspense, but they manage to reach the safety of the open door. Inside the next room, they find themselves in an upside-down bar, with every object bolted to the ceiling, suspended at least 20 feet above the ground. Mike discerns that the pool table is missing the 8-ball, while a ringing phone attached to it catches their attention. As the receiver descends within reach, they answer the call. A voice on the other end warns them to watch their steps, and a portion of the floor collapses, revealing a 15-story drop beneath the room. Holding onto the walls for dear life, the group clings to safety. Amidst the chaos, Amanda manages to ascend behind the bar and discovers a safe, but unlocking it requires a 4-digit code. Zoe's attention is drawn to a sliding puzzle on the wall, and she eagerly climbs up to start solving it. Meanwhile, another part of the floor gives way, creating a dangerous situation. Jason manages to climb onto a platform near the exit door, which is missing its handle. Ben and Mike join Zoe on the sliding puzzle frame as more of the floor collapses. With Zoe's skill, the puzzle is successfully solved, and they discover that the colors on the puzzle represent specific billiard balls. Realizing that the billiard balls hold significance, they give Amanda the code to open the safe, which reveals the 8-ball functioning as the door handle. However, their collective weight causes the sliding puzzle frame to start detaching from the wall. Zoe loses her balance and falls onto a lower section of the floor, leaving her dazed by the impact. The fall triggers a flashback of a traumatic airplane crash where she witnessed her mother's lifeless body inside an overturned aircraft. Jason swiftly jumps down to help Zoe onto the platform, narrowly avoiding the falling section of the floor. Ben and Mike follow suit, joining them on the platform. Amanda, holding the 8-ball, leaps from the bar to the pool table, struggling to pull herself along the edge. Unfortunately, the ball slips from her pocket, landing on the last remaining section of floor and rolling toward the edge. Amanda jumps down, manages to grab the ball, and throws it to Jason just in time. However, the floor crumbles beneath her, and she plummets to her demise. Zoe is left devastated, and Ben tries his best to comfort her while Jason presses forward into the next room. The group enters the 4th room, which is filled with 6 hospital cubicles. Strangely, each cubicle resembles the ones they were in after their respective accidents. Zoe survived a plane crash in Vietnam that claimed her mother's life. Mike was the only survivor of a mine cave-in in West Virginia that took his brother's life. Ben survived a drunk driving accident that killed all his friends, and Jason was the lone survivor of a boat overturning in icy waters. Jason reveals that he and his friend shared a red jacket until his friend decided to swim for help on the 2nd day. Jason remained with the boat and was rescued on the 3rd day, while his friend was never found. They stumble upon files about Amanda and Danny, learning that Amanda survived an IED blast in Iraq and Danny survived a carbon monoxide leak that killed his family. It becomes clear that the designer of the escape rooms possesses extensive knowledge about each of them. Zoe realizes they were chosen because they are all sole survivors, and the designer wants to determine who will ultimately survive. A TV in the room switches on, displaying a 5-minute countdown. The video shows footage of an open-heart surgery, hinting that they need to invest their hearts into the game. Zoe decides they should stop playing along, as it's evident that the designer intends for there to be only one survivor. Determined, she starts destroying all the cameras in the room. Jason, Mike, and Ben discover that the X-rays they found spell out EKG in sign language. Jason locates the EKG machine and notices canisters of poison that will be released once the countdown reaches 0. Realizing they need to achieve a very high heart rate using the EKG machine, Jason attaches it to Mike. However, Ben's heart rate is insufficient, so Jason persuades Mike to increase his heart rate further by using a defibrillator on his heart. Jason administers 2 shocks to Mike's chest, pushing his heart rate over 200. Unfortunately, Mike flatlines, and Ben attempts CPR to revive him, but his efforts are in vain. Jason realizes that the EKG also requires a low heart rate to open the door. He attaches the machine to himself and manages to calm himself down until his heart rate drops below 50, prompting the door to open. A poisonous gas begins to fill the room. Ben implores Zoe to follow him and Jason, but she refuses, believing that destroying the cameras is the solution. Jason and Ben reluctantly leave, while Zoe smashes the last remaining camera. Exhausted, she collapses on the floor, foaming at the mouth. In the 5th room, completely covered in a black and white checkered pattern, Jason and Ben confront each other. Ben blames Jason for Mike's death and reveals that Jason had killed his own friend on the boat to avoid sharing the jacket. Jason recalls the deadly struggle with his friend, drowning him, and allowing his body to drift away so he could survive. Jason argues that survival is the only thing that matters. Their heated exchange is interrupted when Ben discovers a hatch in the floor. Unable to open it alone, they must work together to access what lies beneath. Eventually, they succeed in opening the hatch, but they unknowingly come into contact with a substance that induces hallucinations. As their minds play tricks on them, they find a message under the hatch indicating that the antidote is in the room. Ben manages to locate the antidote, but with only 1 dose available, a violent struggle ensues as Jason attacks him to obtain it. Their fight intensifies as the room's floor rotates, leading to Ben fatally striking Jason's head against a table corner. Having used the antidote on himself, Ben descends into the hatch and kicks through a grate in the floor. This leads him to the room where the movie began. Ben narrowly avoids being crushed between the closing walls and manages to squeeze sideways into the fireplace. The walls slam shut, but the mantle of the fireplace breaks open the door, granting Ben an escape route. He enters a large room filled with computers, where a screen displays the 6 original contestants with their faces crossed out, leaving only Ben's. The Game Master appears and greets him, revealing that the game was created to entertain a privileged group of wealthy individuals. The Game Master explains that past games involved college athletes and prodigies, and now they wanted to test sole survivors. In the hospital escape room, 2 workers in hazmat suits arrive to remove the bodies of Mike and Zoe. They notice a breathing tube hanging from the ceiling. Unexpectedly, Zoe, who had used the breathing tube to survive after destroying the cameras, launches a surprise attack on them using an IV stand. She knocks them out, seizes a gun, and exits the room. Ben asks the Game Master if he can leave since he has emerged as the winner, and the Game Master grants his request. However, the Game Master then attempts to strangle Ben with a wire. In a desperate move, Ben removes the object lodged in his wounded leg and stabs the Game Master, causing him to release the wire. The Game Master tries to overpower Ben but notices a computer screen displaying system override. Additionally, the screen showing the original contestants now lists the Game Master. Before the Game Master can retaliate, Zoe shoots him, but her shot fails to kill him, and he seeks cover behind crates. While Zoe focuses on reviving Ben, the Game Master surprises her and gains control of the gun. However, Ben strikes the Game Master's head with a glass container, ultimately shooting and killing him. The screen changes to show the Game Master's face crossed out, with Zoe and Ben listed as the winners. Zoe and Ben make their way out of the building and head to the hospital for Ben's injuries. The police collect Zoe from the hospital, intending to take her to the Minos building. However, upon their arrival, the building appears abandoned and dilapidated. The police dismiss Zoe's claims, finding no evidence to support her account. Frustrated, Zoe points out the graffiti on the wall that reads "No Way Out" and realizes it is an anagram for Dr. Wooten Yu, a name associated with Minos and the escape rooms. The police disregard her explanation and insist on leaving the premises. 6 months later, Zoe and Ben meet at a cafe. Ben's life has improved, and he now works as a salesperson for vegan dog food. Zoe presents Ben with a binder containing extensive information she has compiled about Minos. The binder includes articles that cover up the true cause of death for Amanda, Mike, Jason, and Danny. Through the Minos logo, Zoe has discovered the coordinates of Minos headquarters in New York City. Ben agrees to join her in 2 weeks when she flies there to confront and expose Minos. The film concludes with a scene of a plane in distress, one of its engines on fire. The flight attendants desperately search for clues to gain access to the cockpit, but their efforts prove futile. The plane ultimately crashes into the ground. However, the camera pulls back to reveal that the plane is suspended inside a warehouse, and the flight attendants and passengers are actually employees of Minos participating in an escape room scenario. A figure shrouded in shadows appears on a screen and asks an employee about the chances of survival. Upon learning that the odds are only 4%, the figure expresses a desire to increase the participants' chances, as it wouldn't be entertaining if they had no possibility of escape. The figure reveals possession of Ben and Zoe's flight itinerary, indicating that the scenario needs to be ready for their upcoming flight. And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.